Over the following days, she notices certain wolves scowling at her openly. She also sees a few who offer shy smiles or respectful nods, as if they admire her spirit. She hears them whisper, "She's strong. Maybe she's the Luna we need." Another counters, "She's ungrateful, tries to kill him at every turn." The pack is clearly divided. All of this stokes her confusion. She feels the mate bond more acutely now, an uneasy heat whenever Rylan is near. It's as if her wolf side, awakened by his presence, grows restless. She finds herself inadvertently glancing his way in the training yard or scanning the mess hall to see if he's there. She curses herself for it. This is the man she vowed to kill. Why can't she remain purely hateful? In one fleeting moment, she confronts him in the library, a modest room of old scrolls and ledgers. She corners him, voice trembling with conflicting emotions. "Why don't you punish me?" she demands, remembering every time she nearly put a knife in his back. He looks up from a map, meeting her gaze. "I won't harm my mate." She bristles at the term. "You keep saying that, but I've never agreed to it. I've tried to kill you. I despise you." His eyes darken with regret or sorrow. She can't tell. "I know, but what good would punishing you do?" Violence doesn't breed loyalty or love. She wants to scream that she'll never love him, but the words stick in her throat, overshadowed by a pang in her chest. She storms out instead, unsettled. Time crawls, and her attempts to flee continue to fail. She grows adept at reading the guard rotations, but Rylan always seems one step ahead, like he's playing a silent game of strategy. She tries bribery with a younger guard, promises of wealth if he smuggles her out, but it goes nowhere. She attempts to scale the walls again, but finds extra barbed wire along the top. The fortress tightens around her. One late afternoon, returning from another fruitless scouting of the perimeter, she rounds a corner and nearly collides with Rylan. He's alone, for once. She stumbles back, heart skipping. He catches her elbow to steady her, and an electric jolt shoots up her arm. She swallows hard, stepping away. He clears his throat. "I see you're busy patrolling, or looking for weaknesses." She shoots him a glare. "You know me too well, apparently." A ghost of a smile touches his lips. "I'm learning. You're clever. Stubborn." She tries to cling to anger, but the closeness sets her nerves alight. Her voice comes out uneven. "And you're savage. Ruthless." He dips his head. "In war, yes. In leading, yes. But not with you." She wants to retort, but his quiet statement slams into her chest like a punch. Her wolf stirs, that traitorous warmth flooding her veins. She clenches her fists. "You keep me prisoner." His brow furrows. "Because you keep trying to run. If you'd accept." She can't listen. She pushes past him, ignoring the flicker of hurt on his face. Inside, she curses the bond for undermining her hatred. She can't think about the sincerity in his voice, or how part of her almost wants to believe him. Days slip by, each overshadowed by this swirl of tension. She no longer has illusions about straightforward escape. The fortress is too secure and Rylan's pack is too wary. She contemplates using his trust, sparking a false sense of closeness, then striking. But she's terrible at feigning warmth, especially when her emotions are so jumbled. She learns bits of Rylan's past from overheard conversations, how he lost family in a traitorous coup, how old allies betrayed him. The more she pieces it together, the more it explains the hardness in his eyes. But she doesn't let that excuse her captivity. One evening, she's in her quarters, half-heartedly brushing out her hair with a comb left on the dresser. A knock sounds at the door. She tenses. Usually, guards just open it. She calls out, "Yes." Ryland's voice. May I come in? Her stomach flips. This is new. He's asking permission? She hesitates. Fine. He steps inside, alone, closing the door behind him. She stands, arms folded, unsure what to expect. He nods at the guard outside to remain. The tension in the air is suffocating. He inhales. I won't stay long. Devon told me you've made progress with your swordsmanship. He thinks you have talent. Her lips press tight. So, he shifts, uncertain. I thought you might want to see the blacksmith's workshop. Choose a weapon that fits your style, under supervision, of course. Her heart lurches. A real weapon at her side? Could she turn it on him? The idea is exhilarating. But she narrows her eyes. You expect me to believe you'd just hand me a sword? He shrugs. If it helps you feel less caged. He glances at her, something like hope in his gaze. She almost laughs. You're either reckless or foolish. He says nothing. She tries to maintain her scowl, but the offer is tempting, not just for the chance to hold a blade, but for the strange significance of it. He's trusting her again, or testing her. Fine, she mutters. I'll look. His features soften a fraction. Tomorrow morning, I'll escort you. He steps back as though to leave, then pauses. I know you won't thank me, but I hope you realize I'm trying. She hates the pang that stabs her chest. No one asked you to, she says harshly. He dips his head, expression resigned. Then he's gone, shutting the door behind him. Elora sinks onto the bed, mind spinning. A real sword in her hands? She could end it in an instant. She pictures the final blow, freeing herself from this twisted bond. But a flicker of doubt creeps in. He's given her chances before. Something intangible holds her back from murdering him in his sleep. Maybe it's just wariness of how the pack would retaliate. Or maybe, deep down, she's not as certain as she pretends. Morning arrives with a heavy sky, clouds roiling overhead. Ryland himself appears at her door. He leads her through the fortress halls, down a narrow stair to a spacious workshop. The blacksmith, a bulky wolf with sooty hands, glances up. His eyes widen at the sight of Elora. Ryland explains they're here to find a weapon suitable for her. The blacksmith nods, rummaging through racks of steel, handing her blade after blade to test. She picks up a short sword with a slightly curved blade. It feels balanced, lighter than standard swords. She gives it a few practice swings. The blacksmith grunts approvingly. That might suit your speed. Waited for a woman's grip. She glances at Ryland. He's watching her, arms crossed, no sign of fear that she'll turn and plunge it into his chest. The blacksmith watches too, waiting. Elora's pulse hammers. The chance is right there. She grips the hilt, inching toward Ryland. She imagines driving the steel into his side. A half step, a quick thrust. Her fingers tremble. He meets her gaze, that patient, shadowed expression again. Her heart pounds. Something about his unwavering calm, his acceptance, unravels her nerve. She exhales shakily, lowering the blade. Her chest tightens with frustration at herself. She can't do it. Not like this. Not with the blacksmith watching, not with Ryland's eyes bearing a strange sorrow. She wonders if he's actually daring her to do it, if he'd let her. She sets the sword down, blinking away fury and shame. The blacksmith says nothing, busying himself with another piece. Ryland steps closer, voice low. Is that the one? She forces a nod. Yes. She can't trust her voice not to quiver. She spares him one more look, then turns away, cursing her cowardice or confusion. She can't tell which. The blacksmith offers to sharpen it at a proper sheath. Elora forces out a thanks, voice clipped. Ryland stands aside, letting them handle the details. Once done, She has a sword belt slung around her waist, the short sword sheathed, its weight a potent reminder of how close she came to finality. Rylan speaks quietly to the blacksmith, paying him or giving instructions. Elora catches a whisper of, "She's free to come here if she needs adjustments." The blacksmith nods. She scowls, stepping out of the workshop, the sword pressing against her thigh, each step a reminder that she's armed and, ironically, still chained in all the ways that matter. She breaks away from Rylan as they ascend the stairs, pushing ahead, heart drumming. He doesn't stop her, just follows. In the courtyard, a few wolves see the sword at her side and raise brows in surprise. Some nod approvingly, others look displeased. She ignores them all, heading toward the quieter corner where she usually trains with Devon. Maybe she'll practice alone. She needs to channel this storm in her head into something tangible. But as she reaches the training posts, a guard intercepts her, saying Rylan wants her presence in the main hall. She curses under her breath. "Tell him I'm busy." The guard shifts uncomfortably. "It's urgent pack business. He insisted you be there." Her anger flares. She grips the sword hilt. The guard tenses, but she merely exhales. Fine, she'll go. If it's something crucial, maybe she'll glean more about how to exploit the pack's weaknesses. She nods, letting him lead the way. They enter the main hall, a large chamber lit by torches, an imposing wooden table at the center. Wolves stand around it, Rylan among them, poring over a map. Their gazes swivel to Elora as she arrives, sword at her side. She lifts her chin, refusing to show intimidation. Rylan waves her closer, the rest of the wolves parting to make room. He points to a spot on the map, a cluster of marks near the southwestern border. "We've lost contact with a scout patrol here," he explains, voice grim. They reported signs of a rival pack crossing the boundary. Then silence. Elora cocks her head. "What does that have to do with me?" One of the wolves, an older woman with steely hair, cuts in. "You're the alpha's mate. If things escalate, you should be aware. And safe." Elora almost laughs. "You want me safe so I can pop out an error?" A flicker of discomfort passes over the older woman's face. She doesn't deny it. Rylan eyes Elora. "We may have to ride out, handle this threat directly. If so, you'll remain behind the walls." Elora's lip curls. "The walls I've tried repeatedly to escape, you mean?" He nods, unflinching. "They protect you, whether you want it or not." She nearly retorts that she hopes the rivals do break in and free her, but the uneasy hush in the room stops her. The wolves look genuinely anxious. This threat must be serious. Rylan points to another set of marks. "I'll take a small force, approach from the east. Devon, gather the men. We leave at dusk." Devon inclines his head, then glances at Elora with a mixture of concern and wariness. She picks up on the pack's tension. If a rival pack is breaching the border, it's not a petty scuffle. This could turn into a bloody clash. Rylan dismisses the group. They disperse, muttering about preparations. Elora lingers, unsure why she bothers. Rylan looks at her. "I don't want you involved. Stay within the fortress." She's tempted to scoff, but something in his expression halts her. Worry etches lines across his brow. "I don't care what you want," she says softly, but without her usual bite. "I'm not helping you defend your domain." He shrugs, feigning indifference. "I won't ask you to. But if we fail, the pack falls, and they'll come for you too." She crosses her arms. "Maybe I'll welcome it." He doesn't answer that, turning to the table to finalize details with a few remaining wolves. Elora scowls and leaves, confusion knotting in her chest. Part of her wants to see Rylan fail, just so she can slip away in the chaos. Another part, damn that traitorous part, remembers the savage glint in a rival wolf's eyes if they found her. She's sure it wouldn't be gentle captivity like Rylan's. At dusk, she watches from the ramparts as Rylan and his force ride out, torches flickering against a blood-red sky. He doesn't glance up at her. She tells herself she doesn't care, that she hopes he gets torn apart. But her heart pounds with an emotion uncomfortably close to dread. The fortress settles into a tense hush after they depart. Guards patrol, more alert than usual. Elora roams the corridors, noticing fewer wolves to stop her if she tries anything. But the gates are locked, the watch doubled. She studies them, imagining ways around. A direct approach is still impossible. She might have an easier time at the southwestern corner where the walls are older. She forms a plan, deciding to attempt another escape later tonight. Yet as night deepens, thunder rumbles in the distance, and she finds herself pacing her quarters, sword resting on a table. She tries not to wonder about the battle or whether Rylan is safe. She tries not to recall his final look, a resolute calm, layered with worry for his pack. She curses, scolding herself for caring. Midnight draws near. Just as she steels herself to slip out, a commotion arises in the courtyard, urgent voices, the gate cranking open. She rushes to the window, sees torchlight bobbing below. Wolves hurry in, carrying wounded. Her heart lurches. Among them is Rylan, blood staining his side, half supported by Devon. Her breath catches painfully. She should feel triumphant that he's hurt. Instead, her stomach knots with alarm. She bolts from her room, racing downstairs, ignoring the guards' startled shouts. She bursts into the courtyard, sees Rylan kneeling, gasping for breath. Blood trickles down his arm, a gash across his ribs. Wolves cluster around him. Elora's chest tightens. She doesn't understand why she's trembling. Someone tries to usher her back, but she snarls, pushing through. She kneels beside him, sword hilt clacking against the cobblestones. His eyes flick to hers, pain-laced but still conscious. Devon glances up, surprise crossing his features. Elora presses a hand to Rylan's wound, heart racing. "You're an idiot," she mutters, voice shaking. "What did you do?" He manages a breathy rasp. "Fought off their alpha, saved some scouts." She realizes she's acting like she cares. She tries to mask it. "Don't die," she says bluntly. "Not after all your talk." A faint shadow of a smile touches his lips, then he grimaces in pain. The wolves around them hurry to fetch bandages, water. Elora's hand trembles as she helps press cloth to the bleeding. She hates that she's doing this, hates the worry coursing through her veins. But something in her chest twists at the thought of him losing consciousness or worse. Devon quickly organizes help, lifting Rylan to carry him inside. Elora stands, arms blood-stained, mind reeling. She expected to relish his suffering. Instead, she feels hollow terror. She follows them inside, trailing behind as they set him on a makeshift bed in a side chamber. Wolves bustle around, blocking her view. She stands there, numb, until eventually one of them says they need space to treat him. She stumbles back, dazed. Guards close the door. She's alone in the corridor, heart pounding. This was her perfect chance to escape, the fortress in chaos, guards distracted. She could slip away easily, but she remains rooted, a swirl of confusion gripping her. Her wolf side howls inside her chest, demanding to be sure he's safe. She curses under her breath. She hates him. She hates what she's become. Hours later, Dawn finds her slumped against a wall near that chamber, drifting in and out of a restless doze. When the door finally opens, Devon emerges, eyes bleary. He halts upon seeing her. She stiffens. He rubs his face. He's resting. The wounds aren't fatal. He lost blood, but he'll heal quickly if we prevent infection. Relief floods her traitor heart. She forces a cool tone. Good. Now I can kill him myself later. Devin almost smiles, weariness lacing his features. Right. Sure. He steps aside, letting her pass if she chooses. She hesitates, then edges into the room, half expecting the guards to stop her. They don't. Rylan lies on a low bed, torso bandaged, face pale but breathing steadily. A single wolf stands nearby, presumably a healer, pressing a damp cloth to his forehead. Elora creeps closer, arms wrapped around herself. She stares at his sleeping form, noticing the lines of tension still etched in his brow. Even unconscious, he looks burdened. She swallows hard. She tells herself to walk away. Instead, she sinks onto a stool near the bed. The healer eyes her with guarded curiosity, then quietly leaves. Elora watches Rylan's chest rise and fall. The patch of dried blood on his bandage mocks her. She tries to conjure that hatred. But in this moment, it feels heavy, overshadowed by the memory of him saying, "I won't harm my mate." Mate. She clenches her jaw. She isn't his mate. She can't be. Yet here she sits, too unsettled to leave him injured and alone. Her confusion crescendos. She grips the hilt of her short sword, thinking how easy it'd be to finish him off. But the mere thought makes her stomach churn. She exhales shakily, brushing a stray hair from her face. She'll wait, just until he's stable. Then she'll figure out her next move. That's all. Outside, the fortress stirs with the aftermath of battle, wounded wolves limping, others praising Rylan's bravery. Elora remains in the hush of the sick room, wrestling with a storm of conflicting emotions. She wonders if she's lost her mind or if the bond is truly tugging at her. She wonders if, for all her talk, she's already in too deep. And she can't decide whether that terrifies her more than the captivity itself. Elora finds Rylan on the ramparts at dawn, staring over the mist-covered forest with a distant look in his eyes. He's healed well enough to walk, though his bandages still peek from beneath his tunic. She stands beside him, a tangle of words lodged in her throat. The night before, she finally made sense of it all, how the rival packs have threatened his wolves for years, how their precarious grasp on territory has hinged on alliances, on lineage, on strength. And Rylan believed that in finding a true mate, he'd secure the power he needed to protect everyone he leads. She heard the full story from Devin, of all people, just hours ago. He was blunt, telling her how Rylan caught her scent far from the fortress and recognized it as the sign of a fated bond. That the Alpha could sense her even before laying eyes on her, a primal certainty he couldn't risk losing. Elora had listened, fists tight at her sides, fury and confusion swirling. She'd hated being forced here, hated that her will was stripped away. But hearing the reasons churns her stomach with uneasy guilt. Rylan was desperate. He needed someone, a mate with the power to stabilize his fractured pack. And he'd staked everything on that single, unshakable instinct. Now, the cool wind whips across the battlements, lifting strands of Elora's hair. She grips the worn stone edge, gaze flicking to Rylan's profile. He looks tired, older than his years, the weight of leadership etched into every line of his face. She almost hates him for being so human in this moment. He notices her, offering a faint nod. "You're up early." She crosses her arms, fighting the impulse to snap. Couldn't sleep. His eyes drift to her bandaged knuckles, souvenirs from her latest training session. "You push yourself hard." A humorless laugh slips free. "Guess I'm used to fighting battles I can't win." He rubs his chest absently, where the worst of his injuries lie. She wonders if it still aches. Sometimes, he says quietly, a battle's worth fighting even if you think you'll lose. She looks away, letting silence settle. For once, she can't throw a barb at him. Too much has happened. Her nightmares have shifted from images of stabbing Rylan in his sleep to visions of him lying cold in a battlefield, the fortress ablaze. She hates how the thought clutches her heart with raw fear. A distant horn blares, echoing off the tower walls. Rylan stiffens, scanning the horizon. Elora feels a jolt in her gut. Trouble is coming. Within minutes, a scout barrels up the stairs, breathless, eyes wild. Alpha, a rival pack is storming our western gate. There are dozens of them, more than we've ever seen. They're moving fast. Rylan curses under his breath. Elora's pulse pounds. Another battle already? She tries to deny the cold rush of dread. Rylan nods to the scout. Rally the warriors. Evacuate non-combatants into the keep. We hold them at the gate. The scout races off. Rylan glances at Elora, eyes blazing with urgency. Stay inside. Keep safe. She opens her mouth to protest that she doesn't need his protection, but the expression on his face stops her. Fear, concern, it's all there. He's preparing for bloodshed. I'm not hiding, she says before she can think better of it. Anger or desperation hardens his features. If they capture you, they'll use you against me. I can't. She lifts her chin. I won't be used. Not by you, not by them. Her wolf stirs, a fierce sense of resolve roaring in her ears. I'm fighting. He hesitates, torn between wanting her far from the violence and the grim acceptance that she'd never listen. Finally, he nods, voice raw with tension. Stay close, then. I'd rather keep you in my sights than risk you fighting alone. They hurry down, meeting the swarm of wolves in the courtyard. Weapons are distributed, claws and fangs, for some, swords and spears for others. Elora's short sword rests at her hip, a reminder of all her pent-up rage. She glimpses faces twisted with fear, with determination. She might despise captivity, but in this moment, standing among these wolves, she feels the charge of unity. She hates it almost as much as she hates the idea of them falling to a rival pack. They march through the main gates, forming ranks along the western wall. Beyond, in the open field, Elora spots a swath of enemy wolves, rows of shifting bodies, snarling faces, the metallic gleam of weapons in the dull morning light. The air crackles with impending violence. Rylan's voice booms out, instructing archers to take position, calling for flankers to guard the fortress flanks. Elora stands at his side, sword unsheathed, heart thundering in her chest. She can hardly believe she's doing this, defending the fortress she once tried to escape at every turn. A furious howl splits the air, and the rival pack charges. The fortress wolves meet them head-on, steel crashing, snarls echoing. Elora's blood surges. She dives in with Rylan at her shoulder, fending off an enemy who lunges at his exposed flank. The ring of her blade sends shockwaves up her arm, but she grits her teeth, pushing the attacker back. All around them, wolves shift forms mid-battle, tearing at each other with fangs and claws. Elora spots Devon in the thick of it, staff whirling to knock foes aside. She ducks a wild swing, counters with a swift slash that draws a pained yelp from an enemy's throat. Her heart pounds with grim adrenaline. This is no spar. It's kill or be killed. Rylan roars, shifting into a half-wolf shape, claws extending, fangs bared. Elora's stomach lurches at the sight, so savage and powerful. But when another foe tries to blindside her, Rylan snaps around, raking the wolf's shoulder, driving him away. They fight in tandem, a shocking harmony. She's never worked with anyone like this, an unspoken dance of parries and lunges. In fleeting glances, She sees Ryland's eyes burning with a protective fury that sends shivers down her spine. The chaos intensifies. The rival pack's leader, a hulking wolf with scars lining his chest, bellows for his warriors to claim Ryland's mate. Ellora's blood runs cold. She sees a knot of wolves begin to circle, eyes glinting with malicious purpose. They want her. If they grab her, Ryland's forced to surrender or lose her to their cruelty. The knowledge sets her wolf instincts aflame. She will never bow to them. She fights harder, ignoring the bruise forming on her ribs. Ryland tears through the line, his savage roars echoing. Yet the enemy has numbers, and they keep coming, pressing closer. She stumbles over a fallen wolf, can't tell if friend or foe, and barely evades a vicious slash from another attacker. Something heavy slams into her side, sending her sprawling. Her sword clatters away. She gasps for breath, feeling her shoulder screaming in pain. A rival warrior stands over her, blade raised. She tries to scramble back, but he grabs her hair, jerking her up. White-hot agony flashes through her scalp. Her wolf mind snarls, but she has no weapon, no leverage. The man growls, "Come with me, Luna, or die." Her vision blurs. She clenches her fists, searching for an opening. Suddenly, Ryland barrels into the warrior, tackling him to the ground. The two roll, trading vicious blows. Ryland's side bleeds anew, the old wound reopened. Ellora's chest constricts, fear spiking. Another pair of foes rush in. She bashes one with her elbow, scrambles to recover her sword. Grit meets her fingernails as she snatches the hilt, spinning just in time to block this second attacker. Then Ryland lets out a pained cry. Ellora's heart jolts. The scarred alpha of the rival pack emerges from the melee, driving a spear into Ryland's thigh. A roar of agony rips from him. Ellora's breath catches. If he falls, all is lost. No one else can hold the line. She charges forward, adrenaline roaring in her veins. She slashes at the rival alpha's shoulder, forcing him to break off the attack. They trade blows, steel sparking. He's bigger, stronger, but Ellora's desperate. Rage and fear push her beyond caution. Ryland staggers upright despite the wound, refusing to stay down. Together, they corner the rival alpha. Ellora lands a strike across his arm. Ryland claws at his side. With a final snarl, the alpha crumples, wounded beyond recovery. The rest of the rival wolves see their leader fall and begin to scatter, disorganized. The fortress wolves seize the advantage, driving them back, finally forcing them to retreat beyond the walls. Ellora stands panting, sword wet with blood, chest heaving. All around, the wounded groan, the victorious wolves slump from exhaustion. Ryland drops to his knees, clutching his bloody thigh. Ellora rushes to him, sinking beside him in the trampled grass. Her hands shake as she presses down on the wound. He looks at her, eyes clouded with pain but still fierce. "We won," he rasps. A sob of relief threatens to break her composure. She can't even recall the last time she let tears form. "You idiot," she manages, voice trembling. "One more inch and you'd be." He closes his eyes, grimacing. "Let's not dwell on what might have been." A faint smile curves his lips. "You saved me more than once." She sets her jaw, tears stinging despite everything. "And you saved me," she whispers. Around them, the fortress wolves converge, securing the battlefield. Devon appears, barking orders for medics to handle the wounded. Ellora presses Ryland's hand tighter against the bleeding, then signals for help. Her mind reels, but beneath the shock, something else pulses, an acceptance she's fought for so long. Her wolf thrums with a surge of possessiveness, protective instinct she can't deny. This man, this alpha she once vowed to kill, is hers as much as she is his. The truth hits like a blade to the gut. She's found what she feared most, that the bond is real, and she can't walk away without shattering a piece of her soul. Ryland's eyes flutter open, meeting hers with quiet awe. She feels the weight of this moment. She draws a ragged breath. The words stall, lodged behind a lifetime of anger. He gently grips her wrist, voice low. "I'm sorry," he murmurs, every syllable raw. "Sorry I took you, forced your hand, stole your freedom. I was terrified of losing the only chance I had to save my pack, my future. But I never meant." She cuts him off, pressing her forehead to his, the copper smell of blood mingling with the scent of sweat and fur. "I know," she whispers, tears spilling despite her best efforts. "I hated you for it. I hated you for how powerless you made me feel. But now, I can't lose you either." His hand squeezes hers. The old hostility throbs at the edges of her mind, but she can't cling to it. Not after standing side by side in the crucible of battle, not after watching him bleed for her and she for him. Medics arrive, prying them apart gently. They hoist Rylan onto a makeshift stretcher, carrying him inside the fortress. Elora follows, heart pounding with the final vestiges of fear. In the keep's courtyard, the wounded are laid out, and she kneels next to him, refusing to leave until she's sure he'll recover. The exhaustion slams into her like a tidal wave, arms trembling from the fight. She notices a slash across her own side, shallow but stinging. She barely feels it, too consumed with watching Ryland's face. Eventually, the medics stabilize him. He's conscious, breath ragged, eyes never leaving hers. Devon tries to usher her away to tend her wounds, but she stays put. Ryland's voice, hoarse and determined, murmurs, "Let her stay." Minutes or hours pass in a blur. Finally, Ryland's bandaged, no longer leaking blood. The medics leave with instructions for rest and healing. Elora exhales, slumping by his bedside in a small chamber used for the injured. Outside, the day fades, but she hardly notices. She's alone with him, the hush broken only by his labored breathing. She can't hold back any longer. The words spill out in a low, trembling rush. "I was so sure I wanted to kill you. I told myself it was all I had left. But that was before I understood. Before I saw who you were under all that hardness." Her throat constricts. "I still hate what you did. I hate how you took my choice. But I can't ignore what this bond means." Ryland's gaze flicks down to her hand, resting lightly on his bandaged torso. He covers it with his own, calloused and warm. "I never wanted your hate," he whispers. "But I did what I had to do to keep my pack, my legacy alive." His voice falters, eyes pained. "I'm sorry." She believes him. That's the part that stings. For so long, she refused to trust any sliver of his regret. But now, here he lies, battered and worn, still looking at her with a depth of devotion she never thought she'd see. "I don't forgive you lightly," she says, tears threatening. "But I do forgive you, because I can't lose myself to hatred anymore. And I can't lose you." He closes his eyes, relief ghosting across his features. "Then stay," he murmurs, voice rasping with emotion. "As my mate, by choice this time." The weight of that request slams into her. 1,000 voices in her mind scream about freedom, about the life she had, about vengeance. But her wolf howls a different chorus, urging her to claim what's hers, to stop denying the bond that's changed her heart. She breathes in, remembering how he looked on the battlefield, how easily she could have lost him. Her answer spills out, raw and quiet, "I'll stay. Not as a captive, not as a forced bride, but as your equal, if you'll have me." A sob of something like joy catches in his throat. He grips her hand, pressing it to his chest. She lets out a shaky laugh, tears sliding free. They aren't tears of surrender, but of release. Of finally letting go of the rage that once defined her. His eyes glisten. "I'll never bind your will again. It's your choice to be here." She leans down, pressing her forehead against his, breathing him in. "It is," she whispers, and to her own surprise, it's the truth. Outside, the fortress stirs, wolves tending to the wounded, cleaning up after the bloody clash. Inside this small chamber, Elora kneels by Ryland's side, the last tethers of her old hatred unraveling. The man she once saw as a savage captor is now someone else entirely, a mate she can't deny, a partner she might trust. She closes her eyes, letting the swirl of conflicting feelings settle into something quieter, deeper. She knows they have a long road ahead. The pack isn't healed overnight, nor are her scars mended by a single truce. But they've reached a turning point. He stifles a groan, shifting his wounded leg. She helps adjust his bandages, hands gentle, heart pounding. That protective urge blooms again, fierce and unfamiliar. She wonders if this is what it means to have a mate, to be bound by choice and fate, to stand together despite every obstacle that once tore them apart. The day slips into night, the fortress lights glowing in the gloom. Elora remains close, ignoring the ache in her own bruised body. One of the medics finally insists on checking her side. She barely listens, mind focused on Ryland's steady breathing, the slow lull of his heartbeat that she can sense in the quiet. No one comes to pull her away. No locked doors confine her. She realizes she could stand up right now, walk through the halls, and slip outside. Yet she stays. Because in this moment, leaving him hurts more than staying. And that's how she knows her old vows have crumbled at last. When Ryland stirs again, hours later, she's there to catch his gaze. He manages a faint smile, a question in his eyes. She nods, letting her palm rest over his heart, feeling its tired rhythm thump against her skin. "I'm here," she says softly, voice still shaking with residual emotion, "and I'm not running." It's not the ending she imagined when she first raised a knife against him. But as he threads his fingers through hers, Elora discovers it's the beginning of something else entirely, a bond forged by blood and fury, softened by shared scars, and decided by a choice that's finally hers to make. Elora wakes to a morning drenched in sunlight, streaming through tall windows she once viewed as prison bars. Now, with no lock on the door and no guard shadowing her every move, the fortress feels strangely open, almost welcoming. She rubs at her eyes, recalling how she used to spend her first waking moments plotting escape. Today, there's no such urgency clawing at her chest. Instead, the gentle warmth of daylight soothes her. She's free to go, that much she's certain. Ryland made it clear, she can leave anytime she wishes. She pulls on a simple tunic, the same style of clothing the pack has provided for weeks, except now she wears it without resentment. She remembers that furious day she tried to shred every garment offered, refusing to look like part of his world. Funny how circumstances change. She can't deny that part of her is still uneasy, like she's learning to walk again after a lifetime in chains. But the rest of her, it aches to see what more lies beyond these walls, beyond her old rage. Stepping into the corridor, Elora finds the air alive with chatter. Wolves pass by, arms full of rolled parchments, sacks of grain, or fresh bandages. She notices how they nod in greeting, no longer leery or brimming with suspicion. A young wolf with sandy hair meets her gaze, offering a polite half-bow she never asked for. It unsettles her, but also sparks a small warmth in her chest. They respect her now, not because she's forced on them, but because they witnessed her fight for them. She wonders how word spread so quickly about her decision to stay by Ryland's side. It's a pack thing, she supposes. They share everything, both good news and bad. Her footsteps carry her toward the courtyard. She breathes in the crisp morning, glancing around as if seeing the fortress for the first time. Everywhere, she spies signs of reconstruction after the rival pack's attack, battered walls being repaired, broken weapon racks replaced. Wolves with bandaged arms or a limp soldier on, determined to strengthen the territory again. Elora feels a tug of admiration. They've endured so much, yet they refuse to buckle. An older wolf crosses her path, gray in his muzzle, back slightly bowed, and he stops, a cautious smile twitching across his lips. "Morning, Luna," he says, voice roughened with age. Her heart jolts at the word. She hasn't grown accustomed to being addressed like that. She isn't sure she ever will. But something about the acceptance in his tone makes her chest tighten with emotion. She nods, managing a small smile. She moves on, catching sight of Ryland in the far corner, instructing a handful of warriors on defensive stances. He leans on a staff for support, one leg still heavily bandaged. The last battle reopened his wounds, and while he recovers quickly compared to a normal human, he's not back to full strength. Elora sees the strain in his posture, the tension etched in his jaw. Yet he's out here, forging them into a stronger unit, refusing to stay in bed. As she approaches, one of the wolves in the training circle spots her, and a subtle hush falls. Ryland turns, following their gazes, and his eyes lock on hers. Even now, a flicker of heat stirs in her belly at that glance. She steps forward, ignoring the mild flush creeping into her cheeks. The warriors step back, granting them space. "Should you really be on your feet?" she asks quietly, resting a hand on her hip as though scolding him. An odd sense of protectiveness flares in her chest. Ryland exhales, leaning more heavily on the staff. "I'm fine," he mutters, though pain flickers in his eyes. The pack needs direction, especially now. She crosses her arms. They also need an alpha who doesn't bleed out mid-lesson. A faint smile tugs at his lips, a silent acknowledgement of her concern. Then his expression sobers, and he shifts attention back to the wolves around them. "We'll pause for the day," he tells them, voice firm. "Devin can take over if you want more practice." A murmur of agreement passes through the group. They disperse, some offering Elora respectful nods. She notices a couple younger ones whisper behind their hands, but no open hostility. That alone is a stark contrast to the sneers she once endured. Ryland looks at her. "You didn't come down for breakfast." She shrugs, stepping closer. "Figured I'd hunt something up myself." He raises an eyebrow. "A sign of your independence?" There's a teasing lilt to his tone. It warms her more than she expects. She purses her lips. "Something like that." Then her gaze dips to his bandaged thigh. "Come on, lean on me instead of that staff." He hesitates, pride flickering in his eyes. But eventually, he sets the staff aside, sliding an arm over her shoulders. She wraps her arm around his waist, supporting him as they walk across the courtyard. Her wolf thrums with approval. She still marvels at how easily she can sense his presence, his heartbeat, his shifting moods. That once infuriating bond is now a quiet hum of reassurance in her veins. A cluster of wolves stands by the gate, discussing repairs with animated gestures. They all pause to stare, at Ryland's wounded stance, at Elora half carrying him, at how natural it looks. This is the man she once called a savage, whose very name sparked her desire to kill. Now, she's helping him walk, feeling protective and oddly peaceful about it. She catches a few low whispers. "See how the Luna stands with him. Our alpha's not alone anymore." She fights an embarrassed flush, but she can't deny a tiny bloom of pride. They enter the main hall, where a small table has been set for them, someone anticipating they might want a meal together. Elora helps Rylan ease into a chair. He exhales, wincing. She fetches a cushion to slide beneath his injured leg, surprising herself with how quickly she moves to comfort him. He shoots her a grateful look. The tension in his shoulders melts a fraction. They share a quiet lunch of stew, bread, and herbal tea. She's used to the routine by now, the pack's staple fare, hearty and unpretentious. Occasionally, she glances at Rylan's face, noticing lines of fatigue. He tries to hide it, forcing down a few spoonfuls of stew. She sees him shift uncomfortably, maybe from pain. She can't help reaching out, resting her hand over his. A few weeks ago, she might have recoiled at such an intimate gesture. Now it feels strangely right. After they eat, she insists on helping him back to his chambers. The corridor hums with activity, wolves bustling about, carrying crates, fresh timber, or sacks of provisions. There's a sense of renewal in the fortress, spurred by the arrival of spring. Outside the windows, Elora catches glimpses of greenery returning to the land. A perfect time to break free and run, if she wanted. But each time that thought stirs, she pictures Rylan hunched over in pain, or the wolves who risked their lives beside her. She no longer feels that urgent pull to vanish. She wonders if this is what it means to accept a home. They reach Rylan's chamber, a place she once dreaded stepping into. Today, she pushes the door open with her shoulder, letting him shuffle inside. The bed stands against the far wall, layered in thick furs. She helps him lower onto it. He exhales, leaning back, eyes closed a moment. She hovers, uncertain how to best continue. The shift in the air is palpable. They're alone, with no watchers, no battle looming. Just a hush that resonates with unspoken emotion. "How's the pain?" she murmurs, standing near the edge of the bed. He lifts a hand, rubbing the bandaged side. "Tolerable." His gaze meets hers, laden with gratitude and a flicker of tenderness. "The pack's healers say a few more days of rest and I'll be good as new." She nods, chewing her lower lip. A tension builds in her chest, as though she's teetering on a ledge. She's free to leave. He's told her so. The pack has told her so. But here she is, in his private sanctuary, feeling more anchored than she ever did in her old village. She wonders if it's time to close the final distance between them. He must sense her thoughts, because he shifts on the bed, motioning for her to sit beside him. She hesitates, then sits gently, mindful not to jostle his leg. His warmth radiates through the space, and her wolf stirs, urging her closer. She takes a slow breath, recalling how she once hated him so fiercely. "I used to dream of your death," she blurts, the memory raw. "I planned a dozen ways to watch you bleed." It made sense at the time. He nods, no surprise flickering across his features. "I felt that hatred. It was warranted, given how I took you." She clenches her hands. "I'm sorry I clung to it for so long." She swallows. "I see now what you were trying to protect, how every decision you made was for your pack." He sighs, eyes drifting to the furs beneath them. "I won't pretend it was right. I should have approached differently, but desperation clouds better judgment." His voice softens. "I never wanted you broken. I wanted you alive, strong. My mate in truth, not by force." She exhales shakily. "Well, you got your wish, eventually." A faint, rueful smile quirks her lips. "Though I suspect neither of us expected this path." He lifts her hand, lacing their fingers. She doesn't pull away. "Are you staying?" he asks, voice trembling slightly. She realizes how pivotal that question is, how it underscores the final pieces of her choice. She thinks of the nights spent in rage, the battles, the confessions of vulnerability. She thinks of the wolves who now greet her with cautious hope, the fortress that's become less a cage and more a shelter. Then she meets his gaze, feeling her wolf stir in agreement. "Yes," she says softly, heart pounding. "Not because I'm trapped, but because I want to be here. I want to stand by your side. I want to help rebuild this pack." Relief flashes across his face, followed by deep affection. He leans in, capturing her lips in a gentle kiss. It's the first time they've shared anything so tender without the weight of conflict. Her entire body responds, tingling with the electric hum of the bond. She sighs against his mouth, letting her anger, her fear, dissolve. She never thought she'd allow such intimacy with the man who stole her freedom. Yet now, it feels like the most natural thing in the world. The moment lingers, a promise sealed between them. When they finally break apart, she presses her forehead to his, breathing in the faint pine scent that always clung to him. "I choose this," she whispers, more to herself than him. He nods, eyes half-lidded with emotion. "Then I'm yours, for as long as you'll have me." In the days that follow, Elora notices how differently the wolves approach her. There's a new deference in their eyes, but also a friendly warmth. Some come seeking her input on trade routes, on training schedules. She's startled to realize they see her as part of the leadership, not just the alpha's accessory. She tests it by speaking up in a meeting with the elders, offering suggestions about forging alliances with a neighboring pack. They listen, weigh her words. It's an oddly heady sensation, having a voice that matters. Ryland's injuries keep him from leading drills or patrolling, so she steps up in his place. She's hardly an expert, but the wolves respect her fierce determination and how she fought for them during the attack. She roams the courtyard, offering advice gleaned from her own brand of scrappy survival. She sits with the younger wolves, encouraging them to train with different weapon types. She fosters a spirit of cooperation that Ryland's more intimidating style lacked. The dynamic shifts. She sees the older wolves beginning to trust her, the younger ones opening up, even the usually stern Devon acknowledging her role with a curt nod of approval. In quiet moments, she and Ryland discuss ways to strengthen the fortress. She pushes for less reliance on intimidation, more on forging real loyalty. He confesses that part of his savage reputation was a front, necessary to keep challengers at bay. But with her at his side, he doesn't need to rely on fear alone. They begin small reforms, better distribution of supplies, clearer communication with outlying villages, inviting them to trade or attend gatherings inside the walls. Gradually, the fortress feels less like a stronghold and more like a community. Her wolf thrives on this sense of purpose. It no longer paces inside her with restless anger. Instead, it guides her choices, affirms the bond with Ryland each time they stand together before the pack. She feels the spirit of the land entwined with her own spirit, as though she's tapped into an ancient thread of belonging. She can't recall the last time she felt so whole. One late afternoon, after a long meeting with elders and a brief training session with younger wolves, Elora finds Ryland in his private study, an austere room lined with maps, dried herbs, and a battered desk. He's out of bed now, moving without a crutch, though still favoring his injured leg. She pauses in the doorway, watching how the evening light halos his shoulders, how he rubs his temple in thought. He senses her presence, looking up. "I was just thinking about summoning a neighboring alpha to discuss a treaty," he says. With the rival threat receding, it's time to mend old wounds. He offers a tired but genuine smile. "You've been helping me see that." She steps inside, brushing the dust off an old stool before perching on it. "We can't keep fighting forever. Better to have allies than more enemies." Her voice is firm, though she can't deny a flicker of pride. She's shaping policy, something she never dreamed possible when she first arrived as a prisoner. Rylan closes a ledger. The soft scrape of pages echoes in the hush. He meets her gaze. It's remarkable how quickly things are changing. A month ago, I wouldn't have believed it possible to let anyone else influence my decisions. She arches a brow. A month ago, I was planning to bury a knife in your throat. His mouth quirks. And now, she stands, crossing the room to him. Now, I might bury a kiss instead, if you don't do something foolish. He laughs low, the sound rich and slightly disbelieving. She leans forward, kissing him lightly. Her pulse flutters, remembering how she used to recoil from the very idea of contact. Now she drinks in the warmth of his mouth, the press of his body. It's thrilling, exhilarating to let down those walls of mistrust. He murmurs against her lips, "We've come a long way." She strokes his cheek. "Let's keep going." Her wolf stirs, urging that final step, a deeper claim that seals them as mates in every sense. She's read about it in old scrolls, overheard the pack's talk of how the bond must be affirmed physically, that it cements not just their hearts, but their very souls. They look at each other, a silent agreement passing. He leads her to a door at the back of the study that connects to his living quarters. The moment she steps inside, the air crackles with anticipation. There's no guard, no lock, no fear. She glances around, noticing how tidy it is compared to the first time she glimpsed it, when it loomed like a lair of a beast. Now it feels safe, softly lit by a single lantern. He hesitates near the bed, eyes searching hers for permission, for the final confirmation she's truly willing. She gives it with a gentle nod, stepping forward, placing her hands on his chest. He exhales, resting his forehead against hers. Their breath mingles, hearts pounding in unison. The bond hums in her blood, potent and undeniable. She helps him remove his tunic, careful around his healing wounds. He leans in, mouth claiming hers with more urgency this time. She gasps, hooking her fingers in his hair, pulling him close. The tension that once fueled her hatred now ignites in a different way, an all-consuming warmth that she welcomes. They ease onto the bed, hands sliding over bare skin, exploring scars and old bruises with reverence. She can't recall being this vulnerable with anyone, nor feeling so fiercely protective of another's fragility. His mouth travels the slope of her neck, sending jolts of electricity along her spine. She arches into him, letting the bond swirl around them. She pictures the day she first arrived, caged and furious, never imagining that this savage alpha could become someone she trusts with her very soul. Yet here she is, surrendering to the mate bond, not out of compulsion, but out of a choice she's forged from conflict and acceptance. Hours pass in a haze of shared breath and whispered confessions. She experiences the primal rush of melding her wolf spirit with his, a sensation like two flames merging into one bright, searing blaze. Their hearts beat together, each thud resonating with the vow they silently exchange. When it ends, she lies curled into his arms, his heartbeat steady under her ear. He brushes hair from her face, voice husky. "You're mine," he says, but it's not possessive or cruel. It's a declaration that echoes her own sense of belonging. She nuzzles closer, murmuring, "I'm yours and you're mine." Those words once would have tasted like betrayal on her tongue. Now, they taste like home. She closes her eyes, drifting into a contented sleep, secure in the knowledge that whatever trials come next, they'll face them side by side. When morning breaks, they rise to a fortress that feels subtly transformed. The pack senses the shift, Alpha and Luna truly united, the mate bond sealed in more than name. She sees it in how wolves greet them, eyes alight with acceptance. She feels it in the intangible aura of confidence that threads through every corner of these old walls. The pack's fear of Ryland's savage ways softens under her guidance. In turn, his brutal edges ease, replaced by a calmer authority. They address the pack in the courtyard, standing together. Ryland reaffirms his commitment to protect them, praising their resilience in rebuilding. Elora speaks too, something she never would have imagined. She thanks them for their trust, pledging to support the pack's growth. She glimpses old hostility in a few faces, but it's overshadowed by newfound respect. Applause breaks out, a rumble of approval that makes her chest clench with gratitude. Over the next weeks, they see the fortress come alive. New alliances are forged with neighboring wolves, treaties written, old grudges settled. The trading routes expand, bringing goods and knowledge from far-off places. Elora helps coordinate a gathering where different packs converge peacefully, exchanging stories around bonfires. She roams among them, half expecting to feel that old urge to run. Instead, she laughs with strangers, shares drinks, and watches Ryland handle negotiations with a tempered blend of strength and diplomacy. One evening, as the festivities wind down, she and Ryland stand on the ramparts, gazing at the flicker of torches below where visiting wolves linger in conversation. The moon is high, silvering the sky. She leans into his side, arms around his waist. The scar on his thigh still gives him a limp on cold nights, but he barely complains. He glances down at her. "You don't regret staying?" She turns her face up, breath fogging in the cool night air. "Sometimes it feels surreal. But no, I don't regret it." She smiles, something genuine and bright. "I've found my place." He tucks a strand of her hair behind her ear, eyes full of tenderness. "We'll keep building this future together. The pack's not perfect, but we'll make sure it's better than it was." She nods, recalling every bitter memory that once fueled her hatred. It's still there in the background, reminding her how far she's come, but it no longer defines her. The bond she shares with Ryland is deep, shaped by the crucible of conflict, tempered by empathy and choice. She's grown into the role of Luna, leading not by fear but by reason, bridging his savage reputation with a caring rule. They linger in silence, listening to the wind rustling across the fortress stones. Eventually, Ryland points toward the horizon, where a faint glow hints at approaching dawn. "We have a lot ahead," he says. "Threats may return. Rival packs might challenge us again. But we're stronger now. Together." She presses closer, letting her wolf's contentment hum in her veins. "Let them come," she replies, voice resolute. "I'll fight by your side, Alpha." He huffs a laugh, dipping his head to kiss her temple. "And I'll stand by yours, Luna." That quiet vow seals the night. Tomorrow, the fortress will wake to new tasks, new challenges, new possibilities. But for now, they share a moment that feels endless, two wolves under the moon, hands clasped, hearts unshackled by old grudges and bound instead by a love neither sought but both embraced. Eventually, they descend from the ramparts, arm in arm, returning to the warm glow of torchlit corridors. Wolves pass them, nodding in respect, and Elora can't help feeling a surge of pride in how far they've all come. This place, once her prison, is now her home. She's tasted the bitterness of captivity, the thrill of battle, and the vulnerability of surrender. Through it all, she's discovered a strength within herself she never knew existed, one that merges human determination with the primal force of her wolf spirit. In Ryland's chambers, they settle into bed, limbs tangling beneath soft furs. The events of the day weigh on them, but in a comforting way, promising restful sleep. Elora curls against his side, inhaling that faint pine scent she's grown to cherish. She thinks of her first nights here, how she plotted revenge, how she scorned every flicker of kindness. Now, she welcomes his heartbeat as a lullaby, a testament to the bond that overcame every scar. Her last waking thought is a quiet vow that no matter what storms come, she'll meet them head-on. She and Rylan have forged a partnership built on honesty and choice, with the entire pack standing behind them. In that sense, the savage captivity that once defined her arrival has melted into a future brimming with purpose, challenge, and love. When dawn rises, the fortress will greet them with new tasks, but it no longer feels daunting. Together, they've proven that even the fiercest boundaries can be reshaped into bridges, and the darkest hates can yield to a fierce, unbreakable union. Elora smiles against Rylan's shoulder, letting sleep take her. Whatever tomorrow holds, she's ready, shoulder to shoulder with the Alpha King, Luna to a pack that has become her own, bound not by force, but by the undeniable destiny they share.